Galloway's Tech Talk, British Wireless for the Blind Fund.
Welcome everyone to Galloway's Tech Talk at 3. It's Andrew here from Galloway's. Great to have you all on board today. Really pleased today to have Dave Beard from British Wireless for the Blind. And what does it say behind you there, Dave? I can't quite make that out. Keeping
blind people in touch with the world.
There we go. Brilliant. I like it. Absolutely. And that's, you're doing a lot of that at the moment and developing, new technologies and skills and apps to help people access radio in a much more accessible way, which is brilliant. And I've seen some of the work that you're doing. I'm really pleased that you've decided to come on today and tell us a little bit more and, get the word out there.
Yeah, this is it. Look, listen, good afternoon. And Andrew, thank you obviously for inviting me here along today. And, I always start with this, it's beautiful to kind of get a little window into all your worlds there, and we wouldn't kind of get that if it was in a face-to-face setting. We was all in the same room. So I kind of get to see you in your natural environments, which is kind of really, really helpful. Us as an organization, we've been listening, I think now for the last 93 years, and Winston Churchill made that initial first statement of, if the blind can't see, we must let them hear, we must rescue them from the darkness, that was made over National Address of Public Radio on Boxing Day from Chartwell, I think in 1928. Don't get me, someone might be able to pick me up on that, but it was around about that time anyway. It was a long time ago, and he was one of our first patrons. And, we've kind of gone full circle now because, that was all about, Captain Towles, who was blinded in the Boer War, had a radio rigged up to a radiator at his bedside, and he found, the reducing of the isolation really more than anything else, in those dark days for him, and nowadays, my latest, take on this is never has radio been more important to us.
Yeah, and more accessible as well, and like widely available.
Totally correct. Yeah.
And
obviously with the pandemic, obviously that's just gone on, the fact that we've kind of obviously been, kind of hidden up in our homes, all of us have been done that, no one's kind of got away with that. Access to audio has been kind of extremely important, and as obviously, like as Andrew said, you can get it anywhere in your home now. It doesn't matter where you are. It comes in so many different forms. So what I want to do first of all is just spend a couple of minutes just talking about us as a charity and what we do. We are a national charity. We cover every individual postcode location in the United Kingdom. There are about 3 million of them, individual postcodes in the UK. We cover every single one of them, from AB to ZE. And we pride ourselves on a regional focus, but a personal service. So what that means is if we see each individual as an individual, initially, obviously, that kind of looked at our radios that we produce, and we were very, very fortunate to have many great radio manufacturers along the years, and we're currently using Roberts. I think that relationship is 23 years old now this year.
When I was a child, I had a Roberts radio that I got through yourselves through my local society, actually in Liverpool, Bradbury Fields, but I think it was then called Liverpool Voluntary Society for the Blind, and I got a Roberts radio, and it was life changing, really, to be able to get something like that.
Yeah, this is it. And we've got some amazing stories of people who were 8 when they received their first radio, and they're now 88 and they're still using our radios or our latest services, so that kind of talks a lot about, how well we continue to meet the needs of the individual, and that's kind of what we're here to do. And we'll kind of talk about how we're extending that a little bit further later on. So our primary service, and the service we've been running since 1928, is that we provide a radio to those who are living with sight loss in the UK as we see it nowadays. Our qualification, and there has to be a qualification because unfortunately there are 2 million people living with sight loss, and that's just a number that keeps increasing every year. If we look at the projections from the RNOB, it's kind of 4 million by the year 2030, isn't it? It just doesn't go away.
Staggering.
Yeah, very staggering. So ultimately, we have a really short qualification, and that's that those that are most in need, and that's determined by a recognised sight condition. So that's changed recently. It used to be registered, so formal registration, obviously through the CVI form. That's changed now because we recognise that the queue's too long for registration, and many people have to now go 4 districts away to get to a local hospital that has an ophthalmology department. So it's now a recognised sight condition. And then in addition to that, it's someone who's on a means tested benefit. That can be a simple lower level council tax, and obviously a higher ESA, DLA, or the old incapacity benefit, obviously universal credit and everything else like that. So those individuals are all welcome to one of our hard pieces of equipment. So that's like Concerto 2, which obviously has tape, CD, USB, a radio. It plays SD cards. It kind of can record to tape. It's a really lovely set, kind of still the predominant set, but it's being taken over. I think when I started, it was high in the 70s. It was 75 to 80% of everything we gave away was Concerto. Currently this year it's only dominating 57% of the market. So that's a big shift, a huge shift. And that's towards Opus, our latest set. So that latest set provides access to a radio, presets. It's a beautiful shape. It's 3 times less the weight, or 4 times less the weight, actually, I should say, and a third of the size of what we've got, obviously, with Concerto there, because it's just got a memory stick player on it. It records to USB. You can have Bluetooth connections to it. You can plug in an auxiliary CD and kind of record to Bluetooth. It's a really clever little unit. And for anybody who's been involved in our latest projects, you'll be aware that we have another radio coming that's going to be well beating. That we hope will be out in early. It's hard to say. It's going to be early 2022 to kind of Q2, Q3, maybe 2022. So that's next year. So maybe a year to about 14, 16 months away. We'll know more by the end of this year where we are with that.
We'll pencil you in for a demonstration on Tech Talk.
I can't wait to see that set once it's available. And that's going to be all singing, all dancing, high quality audio, high quality feel, latest speech, both online and offline, both for DAB and FM radio, the whole works. There's nothing that's going to be missed on that set. If anybody who's been involved in any of our testing for that, or has been called by Roberts, who are manufacturing it for us, you'll kind of know what that's about. And we're not going to spoil that, but that's coming soon.
That's amazing. I just pull you up on that. So you're working with Roberts to manufacture this, this accessible radio. I think that's really refreshing to hear that, a mainstream manufacturer is putting that much work and actually working with an organization like yourself. That's great news to hear. Really is.
Yeah, no, definitely. We could have kind of done with it a couple of years ago, but unfortunately, this is kind of like trying to sew wool to glass. Which is hence why, obviously, when we kind of heard the news of the new RIB radio coming along, that was going to be talking radio. It's not the radio bit that's going to be talking. We now hear today.
Yeah, I saw that when I looked at it on the. Yeah, it doesn't really talk the stations out, does it? No, really? No.
It literally is like knitting wool with glass.
Yeah.
But Roberts have the expertise. Not that obviously anybody else hasn't, but Roberts have the expertise. And we have the commitment to it. That's the important part. We have the commitment to it. And obviously that radio, when it comes out, will be free on loan. Everybody's obviously taught to one piece of equipment. We see a change of what we call associated need. So if anybody has a current radio, we'll look to the change of associated need. Clearly, obviously, if you've just taken a radio 3 months before, obviously the new one comes out, then there's very little chance of obviously changing it immediately. But at some point in the future, we could look at that change of associated need. And we'll certainly continue to do that. We want obviously everybody to be able to kind of have access to that. And we'll kind of give you lots of notice about that it's coming anyway. So that's kind of what we do, obviously, as a charity. If anybody wants to talk about qualification, they can just call us. I'm sure, obviously, Andrew can kind of put those numbers up. But it's the normal 754 757 number. It's an 01622 code. So again, if anybody's taking this down, it's 01622 754 757. Or you could just email us, and that's info@blind, BLIND, blind.org.uk. So that's info@blind.org.uk, and we'll happily help anyone.
And a quick question for me, I suppose, if someone doesn't qualify for the means tested kind of program, are there opportunities to purchase from yourselves as well?
Certainly, and we get people that purchase more than one item or qualify and still don't want to, and still obviously have the means to, and feel that it would be good for them to purchase, because we have BWBF Direct, whose sole purpose is to provide radios, additional and obviously radios to people who don't qualify. And 100% of all those profits for that organisation go back to providing free radios. It's as simple as that.
Right.
You know,
cool.
it's an organisation that actually at the moment it's all of the work that goes into it, you know, the admin and everything else gets picked up by the team. You know, we don't even employ someone at the moment to do that. So that's how committed we are to that part of the organisation. It's not there to draw dividends. It's not there as an organisation, as a company in its normal sense. We have to have a company, obviously, because of the VAT, and that's it. But we have a great commitment to that, to just keep bringing money back to the fund, to obviously kind of make it viable to obviously produce free radios and give free radios away. So
right,
that's kind of us, obviously, on that side. And then in 2009, just before I joined, which was 2011, we took access to Sonata, as we called it, or the web box, as Solutions Radio called it, from the RNIB, and we formally started giving that set out on loan and selling that. And most people are kind of aware of that. That was a little black box with 5 buttons and a volume dial that kind of pressed down on the latest set, that just gave access to pretty much everything, really. Any kind of RSS feed, obviously from a podcast, or any live radio stream, or eventually, once we kind of got Sonata Plus in 2012, access to text to speech, so it could read a web page or it could read a book. It could kind of pretty much do anything. It was self-supporting, but we made a massive decision in 2000 and we made that decision, I think, in 2015 when we started working in the background. But in 2017, we launched Bumblebee, which was to move the services on Sonata to a tablet. And there was a number of reasons we did that. One was access to it. That unit was expensive with the 5-year service charge and the VAT. It was about £600 something per install. Whereas a tablet, it was a sixth of that. So we was doing 6 on 1, which obviously allowed us really to kind of provide more, which is kind of what we was about. And plus also you could walk around with it. Sonata was tethered to a plug. In the end, it kind of did have a battery, but that kind of didn't help the price. And in addition to that, it wasn't kind of something you could really take outside. It kind of was quite big and clunky in comparison to a really light, slim tablet. And that kind of allowed us to move the journey on. And what I want to talk about next really is, for a minute, forget the output, forget that it's now on as an app, forget that it's now on Alexa, forget that it's now kind of on a tablet still, obviously with Bumblebee. We have what we call our streamed service. And for anybody who doesn't know about that, what that simply does is gives you the control over our content. Okay, so most content types are rigid. So they provide a library and they kind of update it every now and again, but it's kind of not really controlled very much by the user, because they haven't got the time and the energy to kind of do that. We have got that time and that energy and that commitment still. So we have something called the stream service, and what that does is unlocks the internet. It's as simple as that. It takes all the graphics away. It takes all the tables and reduces, these abbreviated words that we see on small screens into full words. It what we call contextualizes the text. So when it sees Man United 4 Everton, it says Man United at home to Everton at 4 o'clock. So it reads it as we would read it if we were seeing it with our eyes and reading it with our mind, as opposed to a screen reader that just reads what it sees. It doesn't know. It can't know because it's just a plain simple robot. They're getting better, but they're not that clever yet.
You didn't even get a chance to correct the ESL abbreviation then for European Super League. That didn't last long.
This is it. There you go. There you go. So yeah, so there's so much going on there, obviously, with the stream service. But its aim is to provide simple access to as much audio content or as much text-to-speech audio output as possible. And the way that we do that is, if there is a piece of content that you find in any of our sections, like a podcast section, that isn't available, tell us. Email us, info@blind, call us, tell us. We'll go and unlock that content, research it. And a lovely story, a guy kind of in completely wheelchair bound. He's no longer with us, actually, bless him, but this was kind of right going back at the beginning of the podcast directory, and he wanted to listen to transcendental meditation and try it. So we went away and researched that topic, added it to our spirituality and well-being section, and then he was practicing it.
Wow.
Access to national lottery results, for example. He had years worth of tickets, this guy, to kind of go back and check. It was just brilliant. He loved it, because that was something that was asked for, and we go away and do that. And that's kind of what our stream service does. So whether we're obviously on the A-Lady, because I don't want to say because she's turned on here, or whether we're on our tablet, don't think that content base is the end. That's just what we're providing today. If you think of there's like all these lovely shows that come along before, the Neil and Merp show, or obviously the tech talk, and all the all the other visually impaired kind of technical shows. Keep telling us about them. We'd love to hear about them. If we're missing one, tell us. We'll go away and find it, do the hard work, and just put it simply in the section for you to find. So that's kind of a big overview of where we are as a charity. The future. Well, the future is really bright, I have to say. We have now formally opened up a new avenue to explore for all of our application development delivery, and that's we will provide the application for free on Play Store and App Store. So that's on your Apple and your Android devices. Obviously, for Android, we can't guarantee every device and every firmware version. We generally kind of go 4 generations back, and we keep trying to ensure that we include as many devices as possible. But some of the latest technology just isn't available on those devices. And the same with iOS. Obviously, iOS is a little bit easier because they only support back to a certain iOS version, and we generally go back to that as well. And obviously kind of all the latest devices, we support. And those applications we provide will just be 100% free, and there's no limit on them. If there's a books app that's coming next, you can have it. If there's a radio station app that's coming out next month, you can have it. Talking newspapers app, you can have it. You can have the whole suite of apps. There's no limit to that. And again, we really want to listen to you guys. We have lots of focus groups and testing that we want to push forward. If you want to be involved in any of that, what you need to do is you just need to email us, and we have a really easy way to do that. And I just want you to come direct to me. So rather than info@blind, you just put Dave, DAVE, @blind.org.uk. So that's DAVE @blind.org.uk. Come to me direct, and I can add you to that testers list, and we can kind of get you testing the latest apps. So that we can ensure that they kind of work in your environment, in your in your lifestyle kind of way. Everybody uses their devices differently, and we kind of want to hear as much about that as possible. We ensure that ultimately everything that we do is kind of fully tested before it kind of goes out, so that we can kind of iron out any bugs. And that's what we're doing at the moment, because some of the work we're doing at the moment is quite complex in that we are going to bring, for the first time ever, we know we have this with product-based services like Pocket, for example, but not with physical downloadable applications. We have an application that's coming out next month that will bring worldwide radio. So there's no restriction to radio on that. You can have any radio station from any country. And again, if there's one we're missing, just tell us and we'll add it. We are bringing a native application that will work within the environment of your phone. So you just download it naturally, and you can talk to it all the way through from start to end. So let's have a quick look at this. So you might not be able to see my device because obviously I've got my green screen on, but I've kind of got a Samsung in front of me here. So let's get this turned up. Okay.
Welcome to radio stations application. Please click on the screen to enter your voice command.
BBC Radio 1.
Playing
This morning in
BBC
England and
Radio
Wales,
1,
Jack in
England.
Torquay told Newsbeat how he got on.
Well, you're hearing it first. Your boy in the southwest is
That
packed.
was super quick. That was.
BBC Radio 2.
Playing BBC Radio.
Hart Kemp.
Playing Hot Kent, England.
History.
I did not.
History.
I
History.
playing history, England.
Talksport.
Playing Talksport,
Of
England.
these signs. The faster you act,
Add.
Station is added to your list.
My list.
1 gold, 2 24/7 Dreamboats and Petticoats, 3 BBC Radio 1, 4 Chris Country, 5 Hart Kent, 6 Talksport.
6.
Playing Talksport.
Means approved deck board for only one.
Quick search.
Please just say the word you want to search for in the title of all available radio stations.
Magic.
1 CFQM FM Magic 104. Genre type, adult contemporary from Canada. 2 Singe Magic 106. Genre type, adult contemporary from Canada. 3 Got Radio musical.
Free.
I did not.
Free.
I did not.
Free's always a problem.
Please try again.
It comes out with FRW. 1.
Playing
Popping up as soon as the sun
CFQM
comes
FM
out.
Magic 1.
Add.
Station is added to your list.
So as you can see, it kind of is really simple to use. On the screen itself, what we have is just a microphone. So the microphone itself, I don't use accessibility generally when I'm kind of demonstrating this. But with accessibility on, it kind of just works naturally exactly the same. You don't need to turn talkback off a voiceover on to use it. You know, that it just works natively with it. It just works in tune with it, which is just incredible because there are no applications that once you go past Hey Siri or Google and obviously open the front door, that's it. It kind of turns off. You can't get inside the application. This you can get inside it, and it's got another really cute little trick. So it's really annoying, obviously, if you want to be quiet or you're on the bus and you don't want to draw attention to yourself, or you know your partner's kind of in bed. If you've got kind of someone that you kind of share that with, you know, and they don't want to hear you, but you kind of don't want to go to sleep yet. So you can tell this to go to gesture mode. So let's do this. So speech off.
I did not.
Speech off.
Transfer due to the gesture mode of radio application.
And now, as you can see, it's kind of gone to the gesture mode. And now you can use swipes, left and right swipes, to go obviously through the menus as you would normally and naturally. All your favorites, obviously, that you've stored, obviously kind of go with you. If you want to turn it back onto voice, there's a voice button.
Welcome to radio station.
And it goes back to voice again. And again, obviously, if you just want to turn it off, speech off.
Transfer due to the gesture mode of radio application.
And it kind of goes back. So we kind of got the best of both worlds, because sometimes there are very unique radio station names that are very difficult to find, even with searches. You know, so we can say any phrase within the name of the station. So we could say magic or mellow, or we could use the word of gold or whatever we want to do. Or possibly we can kind of use, I don't know, a number like 106.4. But even still then, you still got obscure names like, I don't know, CFQN or fan, you know, or they use W's and Z's and V's a lot in America, don't they? And obviously these stations, and K's and Q's, you know, which are kind of very, very difficult to articulate together anyway, let alone a text-to-speech or a piece of speech recognition software trying to grasp what you're saying. So you can kind of scan through those and obviously kind of grab those, obviously with gestures, and it'll kind of obviously read them out to you and add them to your favorites. And again, when you go back to speech mode, they'll kind of be in your favorites. So and obviously everything's numbered and given the name. So as you can hear, when I hear number 6, I can say number 6, or I can say number 6 before I even get to number 6 if I know it's number 6 in the list. You know, there's another section to it where you can say I don't know, that you want to listen to cricket stations or football stations, or you want to listen to New York Talk or New York news stations, and it'll go away and find those for you. And again, they will be sections that will literally be kind of in a situation where it will grow. It will grow with us and it will grow with you. So when you've kind of got a section like in America, and you kind of, and there's something going on in America, and you kind of obviously want, I don't know, talk stations in Dallas, for example, tell us and we'll add that section. Someone will go away and research it and add it to it. And then obviously then we add it to the list so that obviously you can obviously call it by its name. So look, it's kind of we really want it to work with you guys. You know, we've obviously kind of got it on iOS as well already, and it kind of does kind of exactly the same thing. You know, and that both of those are going to kind of work together natively. We've kind of been looking recently, if anybody's done any testing with us, you'll have noted that one of the problems we were having was this AI service. And what it does is on the new, I think from the XR upwards, it sees a button and it has a shape and it tries to tell you what it's seeing, and it says microphone, but it says microphone at the wrong time, at the time when you want to speak to it. And it's hearing microphone and saying, I don't understand that. We've resolved that problem. We've nearly resolved that problem. It's just is
that Apple's built-in image AI description?
Yes,
you can switch that off in iOS if people have a problem, but I suppose not everybody's going to do that.
No, but some people want to use it, and this is the whole purpose of this native thing. We don't want you to have to turn voiceover off. We don't want you to have to turn, because you can do it with the wheel, can't you, and turn it off?
With the rotor.
We've worked it out on how to do it on Android. On Android, it's easier to kind of get under the hood. And it's just a single line of code that we kind of tell the system to kind of, and we don't even have it as an image, it's kind of a background. So it's not even really, there's nothing actually there for it to see, but it still tries to see it on iOS. It's kind of really, really clever. It's too clever for its own good, really. But we think we've got to the right part of the system anyway now. We'll get there. Before that gets released, that's going to be fixed. It's not going to be released with it not being fixed, that's for certain. And we're nearly there now. We're right on the edge of resolving that problem. So that'll be really, really good, because it kind of just gets in the way a little bit. And we don't want it to get in the way. Obviously, if you've got an email coming in and it's kind of chatting to you, then there's not much we can do about that. But at the end of the day, you can't obviously do two things with the phone at once anyway. So, you know, you can kind of obviously pause where you are and kind of get on. We have hopefully later on in the year what we're going to call a live news on demand and podcast app that's going to kind of bring all those three things together. We have been given access to the RNIB's book API, and we're going to bring a speech version of the RNIB library.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great news.
Yeah, that's coming next.
Superb.
So again, you won't have to buy Pocket to do that. You can just download the application for free, and again, it will be free. And then we kind of obviously want to kind of move on from there and kind of really listen to what people are talking about. We're doing some really amazing work very soon. We have a PhD study that's starting in October this year that's going to look at the lifestyle needs and the internet of the future and the smart speaker of the future to meet the lifestyle needs of visually impaired people in the UK. That's a study that's going to go on for 3 years. That's going to be really incredible and quite amazing. We've now actually moved into development of Alexa, talking newspapers. Alexa, open talking newspapers.
Welcome to your talking newspaper skill, where you can hear talking newspapers recorded by volunteers from across the UK.
So this is British Wireless's skill.
This free service is for visually and reading impaired people. You can find out more at www.printaudio.org. Please say the title you would like to listen to.
Galloway's Eye.
Did you say Galloway's Eye?
Yes. Yes.
This is Galloway's Eye.
Awesome.
Alexa,
that's cool.
Next track.
This is Galloway's Eye.
Easter opening hours. Please be aware that we are closed on Friday the
Alexa,
2nd
stop.
of April.
So,
I have stopped the playback.
thank you.
If you want to play a different newspaper, say for example, Play Galloway's Longridge and Garstang news.
So there's just some important news that we need to bring around that. We kind of say it's a British Wireless skill. It's been programmed by British Wireless. The accreditation, as it kind of said, www.printaudio.co.uk, goes to the cure and review grant that was given by, what I'm going to actually go and do is go and get the proper. I should have been prepared for this, but I don't want to read this.
I was gonna while you're doing that, I was gonna say it's great to see more organisations kind of going down the A-Lady route. We've Galloway's, we launched our skill last year, and we do have our our newspapers and things available through that, but we also use it for other things as well, like local information and all kinds of things like that. And it just feels like that's the we're using more mainstream technology now. The smart speakers naturally are accessible to blind and partially sighted people. It's great to see more organisations going down that route.
Totally.
Definitely.
Yeah, totally. So look, basically, we refer to the Talking Newspaper Alexa Skill Project, and the funding that's come from Q and Review Recording Services, funded by the Scottish Government Communities Recovery Fund via the National Lottery Community Fund. So that's where the funding's come from. So again, we're kind of using our resources kind of and obviously kind of making sure that we kind of obviously get as much support obviously for that. So we're very, very grateful obviously to the Scottish Government Communities Recovery Fund by the National Lottery Community Fund obviously for the support in that project, and Q and Review. We're kind of working together on that project, but it's a Scottish grant, so it's kind of obviously Q and Review's project. What will happen when we get to the end of this next phase, because we're kind of moving into phase 2 now, we've done a 9-week phase 1, and we're just about to go into another 9-week or 7 to 9 week phase 2. The project comes back to British Wireless for the Blind Fund, and we'll kind of continue it on. So we'll be looking to put that onto Google Home later in the year, and obviously the other smart speakers, obviously Apple and all the rest of them. And some Samsung devices and other bits and pieces, I'm told as well, that what we can do. We will continue to kind of build upon the skill. Hopefully later on in the year, you'll be able to kind of say to it an area name. So obviously out of area, obviously, because you don't know the Talking Newspaper name. We're working really, really hard with what we call these utterances, so that we can actually say to it different things. So we don't actually have to say exactly the name as it is described. We can say, for example, Q and Review, even in Herald, which is a bit of a mouthful. We can just say even in Herald or Herald, for example, and it will know to do the same thing. And again, any audio content that we can bring, obviously, to Alexa, we'll bring it. So potentially, we're talking about a new project we're actually working with, potentially, hopefully, Amazon Alexa and Amazon AWS, that we can give you some more information once we kind of know it's moving. But again, it's simplicity. It's about opening up and bringing not just a little bit or the corner of the content, the whole scope, the whole scope, because there's lots of little bits and pieces at the moment, but there's kind of, we know that people are so diverse. Let's take just football, for example. There's lots of stuff on football. What is there on ice hockey, or what is there on kind of, horse racing, or what is there on, cricket, and all the rest of them that kind of go with it. So anything we do, we kind of want to kind of bring a really broad approach to it. We don't just want just to bring just the most popular. We want to kind of allow the content to be driven by you guys again. So it's kind of really exciting and really kind of, we're really looking forward to the future. So look, I think that kind of brings me to a close there, really. But I'd obviously love to kind of hear from you guys, and kind of love to answer any questions you got. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, that's brilliant, that, Dave. Really great stuff. I think finding radio stations, normally I can, but me personally, I can find a radio station, and it's great to be able to do it with your voice. So I love that. I always struggle finding podcasts and things, or I suppose not finding them, but discovering, new ones that I might be interested in. And then one day one comes along that, I'm like, oh, I could have listened to that a long time ago. So I think that's another area that I'm quite interested in, how people can discover a little bit more as well, things that they don't know that are out there. Well,
yeah, look, we're actually doing a study at this moment in time around machine learning, and obviously kind of the AI of what other suggestions that can be brought, and I hope that for our news on demand and podcast service that will be out later on in the year, that it have two things. One, what our radio section will have, and that's the most listened to. So the stations that are kind of being listened to by the most people will be at the top of the list. And you'll kind of be able to tell me, be able to kind of give it a genre, and then kind of say, what's everyone else listening to, or what trending, as it were.
That's it. Yeah.
Because that's kind of obviously really important. And in addition to that, we really, really hope that what we'll be able to do is kind of, give suggestions. So if you liked the Neil and Merp show, there'll be others obviously that you'll like because you like that one. And that's definitely something also that we're going to do. But, we may, like I say, maybe we could have a session kind of outside of this kind of group, to kind of explore that, as two organizations, and you can bring some people along, and, we'll kind of bring our listening ears along, and, you can kind of tell us what you want it to do before we kind of build it. I'm sure we could do lots of things that we'd love to be able to do that. We'd really, really love to be able to do that. And what you tell us to do, we'll go and do it. If it's feasibly possible to do it. And just because there's a few people wanting it doesn't mean that we won't do it. That's what this personal service is all about. There's no point saying we'll listen to the individuals and then there's only one of them in the darkness, because they're as important as the others at the end of the day. That and we kind of really want to make sure that obviously, if you kind of want it to have 6 legs and 4 arms, and and someone else wants it to kind of be 20 foot tall and someone else wants it to be short, that becomes difficult and we have to compromise. But even still, then there's always a way around everything. Do you know what I mean?
I remember building. We had a volunteer, Peter, a guy called Peter Gould, who helped us build our A-Lady skill for our newspapers and things. You should definitely check it out. Galloway's support through sight loss skill. You can enable it with your voice. And I remember one of the things, and we worked with some of the guys that are on the call today. Came and did some small user groups with us, to find out, what would you like the skill to do? What information would you like it to read out? Things like that. And then one of the things that we did have to come back on was the fact that the A-Lady, through Amazon Web Services, she can really, generally, you're quite limited in terms of how long she can talk for before she stops. So, in terms of the programming, you could only say do up to a minute, for example. So sometimes there are times when I'm using the A-Lady and I'll ask it to do something, and it'll say, your list is so much. You got in your shopping list, for example, she'll only do 5 items at a time. If you ask her to do certain things, she'll only read out so much, and then say, if you want more, it's in the app, or say, things like that. So that affects like your development of a skill as well, and how you build it, because if you say, I want the latest, what are the latest trending podcasts, you can't have an endless list, because you're kind of restricted sometimes to how long the A-Lady can speak for as well. And that influences how you build the skill. And that's what we found not challenging, but we had to work around that because of the ecosystem that we were building our skill for, really.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, this is it. But yeah, like I say, I'm sure having a few of those sessions together, and Alexa's getting more and more and more clever, as time goes on. It kind of, the reason it's listening all the time, and kind of some people kind of get a little bit like, oh, it's listening to me all the time. Well, it's just a child. It has to listen. If it's going to support what you want it to do, it needs to be able to listen to you, because it needs to be able to understand you. So that's kind of something that that will help it to kind of and benefit you in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because and of course, what Amazon have done more than any other ecosystem before, they've actually opened it up, and they've made it really easy for people like yourselves to work with a software developer. Someone sitting at home can build their own skill for the Amazon ecosystem and do it very easily. It still has to go through Amazon's kind of benchmarking and things like that before it can be released. But it's very, the technology is there for you to use. And I think, and the way they built it is that actually people are developing their technology for them in a way. How can the A-Lady be used? People out there in the world are defining that, and I think that's a huge thing. This technology is so accessible for anybody to develop things, and how brilliant is it that it can be used so positively, for the benefit of blind and partially sighted people. I remember when it first came out in 2016. And I was just amazed that, you could play music with it and you could ask the weather and things like that. And now it's like organizations can use this technology, for next to nothing. It doesn't cost that much at all to use, to put a skill, on Amazon or even Google now. So it's amazing where we're going with it. And I feel like we're only scraping the surface of what this technology will be able to do in the future, really. And also, some people are only just kind of catching on to this technology. I feel like the A-Lady's been around for like 10 years, but she hasn't. She should have been around for 5 or 6. But some people are only just getting on board with this now. But it's still an exciting time to get on board. Now is the time to get yourself an Amazon Echo or get yourself a Google Home, because you can do all these great things. That's the key for me, really. So it's really great. Enough of me waffling on. Dave, I think there might be some questions. So I'll ask if anybody's got a question that they'd like to ask Dave. I know I've got some that have been sent in via email, which I've got in front of me. But has anybody got a question that they'd like to ask?
Can you just, regarding this radio app that you're making now for iOS, there's definitely going to be podcast support, is there? Or is it just something you're looking at?
So what we have decided this time round that we're going to do, because before when we did Bumblebee, we kind of did everything and kind of delivered everything. But it was kind of we probably kind of bit off more than we could chew, to be perfectly honest with you. And we kind of really happy to put our hands up sometimes and say, do you know what? Actually, what we should have done, which is what we're doing now, is get one right, get it out, get people using it, move on to the next one. So the procession of our applications is going this. Radio will be out next month.
Yeah.
Talking newspaper app that we've got is going to be having the speech version, and that's going to come out really soon afterwards as well, probably late May. Then we move on to the books app for the RNIB with the library. That will be hopefully out by August. And then we'll move on to a podcast, live news, and on-demand service that will be available kind of turn of the year. So you're going to have to wait for that one, but we will be producing it. So
that's good. And are you going to put the Torch Trust for the Blind? Are you going to put the Torch Trust for the Blind talking book library on as well?
Yeah, look, we
use Torch Trust as well.
Yes, we will be speaking to Torch Trust really, really soon. The whole idea, obviously, is to get the RNIB's library on there first, because it's obviously they've kind of offered it to us. But as much as obviously all the other libraries and the free ones as well, the LibriVoxes and the Bookshippy Frees, we'll kind of be adding as many as the out publication ones, as many as we can. So kind of just bear with us. Hopefully by the time we get to this time next year, we'll be kind of looking for new projects, and we'll kind of be done with all of the content that was available on Bumblebee, basically.
Yeah, and that hardware that you're bringing out some new hardware. Is it going to have a digital out? Because I know my amplifier's got I've got 2 more vacant digital inputs, one optical and one coax, till they get swallowed up with another piece of equipment.
I would have to look at that, but I know that that's definitely something that people have obviously been talking about, and we will be putting as much external output into that unit as we possibly can. But we kind of unfortunately get to a price where the price kind of is the deciding factor. And I know kind of every time we add another bid on, it's kind of another $10 and another $10 and another $10.
Yeah,
We don't want to.
I can't personally see it a lot, because I was just reading something in a magazine, something totally different, but it was something with digital output, digital input. It was a particular Bluetooth headphone adapter or something like that, and it was only £25 listed in Computer Active. Just to give you an idea, it might not be as much as you think to put a digital out.
Were you thinking optical audio? Is that what you were thinking of, David?
Optical out, because some amplifiers like mine have also got optical in on them as well. For example, my CD player is optical output into the amplifier.
I suppose as well, I mean, it's more designed to be a device that someone's just going to use solely with the speakers, isn't it? Provided on the device itself. So it's probably a secondary thing, I would imagine, and rightly so, because the idea is that somebody hasn't maybe got the speakers already, they haven't got a system at home, so that's why they're getting one of these. I think, am I right there, Dave? That's probably the right way of looking at it, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. I know that this new I don't want to kind of give too much away with this, but I hear it's going to have air sound, so the sound quality that's going to be coming from it, and it's going to kind of have wireless connectivity and Bluetooth connectivity, should hopefully kind of tick all the boxes. But unfortunately, there's kind of always going to be a last box that we just can't quite get ticked. But I know they're kind of really trying hard to make sure of much of what we need to be included is definitely included within it.
The app I'm using at the moment, Radio Player, on the iPad for when I'm away, it uses the high quality uses the hi-fi streams direct from the broadcasters. Are you going to be doing the same or not?
Yeah, 110% yes. We are using our own radio station database, David. It's ours. We're not going through any other aggregator. We are the aggregator. So we always pick the highest quality streams, especially nowadays, given the fact that we've kind of, if we went back 3 years and we was talking about kind of people accessing it on devices, smart devices, and obviously kind of, it kind of out and about, it was difficult because everybody was kind of limited to the amount of data they had every month. Data's just kind of fallen through the floor recently. I'm on unlimited now on my phone, and I only pay £13, £13 a month for that. Unlimited data, unlimited minutes, unlimited text. We have 3 SIMs in our household. That's why it's so cheap for us. But data is so cheap nowadays. There's no issue with it. So if anybody's on a data package and you're paying a lot of money, still go and buy back into the market. Data has become so cheap nowadays.
Renegotiate.
Gone are the days when you're paying £40.
I think is this Martin Murray? Is this Martin Murray we're talking to now?
But this is it, So yeah, David, we'll be producing. We will always be putting the 320 plus kilobit streams in there if we can do that.
5G,
the mobile stream if it's not strong enough, because the problem is it's great, but sometimes hotel broadband, hotel Wi-Fi is a bit off, isn't it?
It's a bit flaky, yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
But that's getting better all the time as well, The great news is it's not going to reduce any, it's only going to ever get better.
No.
And don't forget, everywhere we go, we kind of connect to the Wi-Fi anyway. In our homes, we connect to the Wi-Fi and and all the rest of it. And like James has said, in your bigger cities, 5G is coming on board as well. And again, 5G is not coming out. I've got unlimited 5G data on my phone as well now for that same £13 a month. If I can obviously kind of get into
the 5G transmitter.
If I find one, I'm just going to park myself next to it. I'm not going to move.
I am looking forward to 5G. I haven't took that. I haven't taken that. That leap of faith. But I know that when I get a new iPhone, probably this year, I'll get 5G at no extra cost through my current provider.
Yeah, no, I've got the iPhone 12 Pro Max now, so I can kind of get it. I just need to go and find it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Excellent.
You study all over the world, so India is on it, isn't it? And I like listening to Bollywood songs and bhajans, religious.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, let's see what happens when we ask it for Bollywood. 2 seconds. Quick search.
GMT plus. This is the word you want to search for in the title of all available radio stations. Ask
Bollywood.
Left. One Bollywood Hindi hits. Genre type. Local.
1.
Landscape. Playing Bollywood Hindi hits. Genre type. Local music from India. That has been disabled for this event. Heading level. Landscape.
It might not be streaming at the moment, but it's definitely finding Bollywood stations. So if you just say to it Bollywood, it will find a list of. Let's see if we can quick search.
It was coming up with a list then, wasn't it?
Just say
Actually,
the word you.
Bollywood.
One Bollywood Hindi hits. Genre type. Local music from India. 2 Bollywood radio and beyond.
2.
Playing Bollywood radio and beyond. Genre type. World from United States.
Stories about actors.
Maybe some of these just aren't streaming this afternoon, but I'd have to go. But look, what you do is you come to talk to us. You know, send us an email and say, "Look, I'm using your radio app. I want Bollywood," and we'll go and make sure the Bollywood ones. Because the problem we have is we're continually cycling all the time. You know, and potentially the Bollywood ones have been missed recently. So I'll get someone to go away and look at them, and when it comes out, I can assure you, you'll be able to listen to Bollywood on it.
That's well,
And I
yeah,
like
that's cool.
listening to bhajans as well, religious songs, the Indian songs.
Ah, right, cool. I suppose that's the thing is if you get if you send over the things that you're interested in, then I suppose I think the thing is there's so much content out there. You won't have everything, but then you can go and grab it if people get the suggestions over.
This is it. We will go and grab it for you. Yeah, we will. We really will. So
I listen to YouTube,
Yeah, brilliant. Why is that you get for things that you think you might be interested in? It's get a little list together of it, and we can send it over to Dave. I'm going to forward Dave's information. About
email address and that. I was just gonna ask, can you send us the link?
Yeah, I will do that because obviously you're looking for possibly. Are you still looking for testers, Dave?
100%. Yes. If you're on iOS, we can get it on Test Flight. If you're on Android, we have to put your email into our system so you can get it on Play Store beta. But send it over to Andrew. Let him to be kind of your. If you say what system you're using, iOS or Android, that would be really helpful. And whether also, if for responses, if you want to email us responses or you need us to call you to get responses, that's the only 2 bits of information I need. What phone you're using, what system is it on, and also whether you can kind of handle emails and we can email you a questionnaire and you can respond, or whether you want someone to do that over the phone.
How many favorites can you have in your apps?
I don't think there's kind of any limit. I ultimately, obviously, the longer the list becomes, obviously, the more intrusive it becomes. Obviously, for you, if it's got a list of 1,000, it's going to be a long wait to get to the middle of the list. But we don't like to put limits on things because the thing is that you can turn it to gesture mode, and you can get to the middle of the list quite quickly with a swipe, with a 2-finger swipe up. We don't want to restrict the list to you. That we don't want to tell you that it's 50 or it's 20 or it's this. Some of the lists, like for our quick searches, so when you say to it football, it will, or if you say to it kind of news or New York news, it will pick the top 20 most popular ones because we don't want those to be long lists because they're quick functions. But for anything favourites, we don't want to restrict you to what you can do. It's down to you what you do. Sony Sonata never had a limit. We had people with 2,000 stations on their individual lists.
That's where they get all the time from to listen to
How can you imagine?
These radio stations.
I think come and go.
I think you brought up quite a really good thing actually, because whilst you want to be able to speak to an app and get it to do those things, sometimes you do need that more manual approach. You do want to use your gestures, don't you, to just kind of cycle through things. You don't want to be talking all the time, and especially if you're out and about, for example, on a train or you're walking somewhere or you're sitting with other people. You might just want to. Do you know what? I'll find a station by using my gestures, and that makes things a lot
Yeah,
easier.
no, this is it. This was something that I always wanted. That was always a really always something I really wanted to kind of get that blend together, because speech is great, but you can't always use speech, and it isn't always right, and you don't always want to use speech.
Exactly.
So yeah, this is it.
So one thing for me, we got. I was just picking up some questions that I had that did come through. Can you name the radio stations? For example, let's say it has a really long name, and you want to rename it, so you can so you could call it something different. Like I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking of maybe some of the foreign stations, for example. It might be a long name, and you might want to rename it.
I'll certainly put that forward as a consideration for the future, not at the moment, because ultimately that we would kind of have to, that would be something we would have to start with from architecture, because obviously it would have to kind of understand that that's the station name, that it kind of knows that is the station name. But look, the great news is this: the complication comes in when you have to repeat it. But guess what? You don't have to repeat it, because it says 1 CQFM 106.4 Sunshine FM from Blood. You can just say 1 and it'll open it. So you don't have to say the name. So yes, you can call it the number. So that's the answer.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because you're asking for radio stations sometimes on you're using a geographical. You're saying the name of an area or a country.
Like Zimbabwe.
Or you're saying like a genre of music or whatever, and then that's how you get to the stations that you want, basically.
This is it. So every single list, whether it's just a country list, a radio station list, your favorites list, they're all numbered. 1, the name; 2, the name. Some of them give more detail, obviously, like the quick search, so you know what country it's from, because obviously Magic and Gold, there's hundreds of them, and you could have one from Greece, one from Turkey, one from Spain. Which one is it? So it actually tells you it's from Greece and it's this genre, so you can actually identify it properly. So we hope we've kind of thought about everything. I'm sure there'll be something we've kind of forgot, but we've been working with radio all our lives. I have kind of, obviously, my entire history of British Wireless is all about radio. And we were so proud to be able to bring this flagship application that's going to kind of, really kind of catapult us, hopefully, into the stratosphere, and obviously get ourselves noticed, which is something we must do to ensure that we can kind of obviously get the funding and the support, obviously, for obviously going forward. So, yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Dave, I really thank you today for coming and joining us. It's been a treat. It's been a treat, and it's great to see how you're pioneering radio for blind and partially sighted people, and creating an app which is actually, designed for simplicity, that still works with your mainstream, smartphone. It's great to see, and we applaud you for it. And we look forward to having you join us again further down the line when things are more established, especially with the new radio, the new hardware that you've got coming out next year. That we'd love to get you to come on and talk to us about that as well.
I'll come back anytime.
But thank you, Dave. That's Dave Beard from British Wireless for the Blind. Thank you.
Take care. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you.